So this video, if I actually get to it, it's going to be a get in the airbox, because I know a lot of people were pissed off at my last video that I made well over a year ago, where I forgot to go ahead and well, get the second camera view on. So first, remove your back seat, remove your front seat, and get to all these wonderful little retainers that are going to be a complete pain in the ass to remove. There's my pen I couldn't find. So the bottom one's a 10 mil. You gotta remember, bring those patch cables back to work. Just a word of advice when putting these in, they don't have to be fucking Superman strong, especially if you're using Loctite. You don't want these stripped, and they're basically just grabbing onto a rubber grommet, so putting them in there super duper tight ain't gonna do you a damn bit of good. I mean, the whole idea of the rubber grommet is to do some vibration resistance and allow it some free play. There, so the bottom's done. I guess I'll throw my bolts in there today. So, now we go over to my next favorite. Let me take off the front. So first you need to remove this absolutely wonderful cover. I'm going to be fixing mine today, I hope, where the industrial Velcro came off. This is the, well, it's one of the two black Allen wrenches that came with it. So I'll do one side, then do the other. Usually I don't put on He-Man tight, but I put them on tight enough that when I go to undo them I can feel them crack. No, they don't literally crack. Those of you that just have no fucking brain. Most of our subscribers are pretty good. I like all you guys. There's one or two that, you know, need some assistance. So here's what I was talking about. See, this side peeled off cleanly, this side didn't. Getting a little bit of vibration out of that, so that's going to be glued back in place today at some point. Looking beautiful out. So now we have our top two for also 10 mil. If you're going to store anything down here, watch out, your positives down here, negatives right here, at least on the 2012. Don't do anything stupid. It's gonna hurt it. That one came off really easy. So those of you that live in the Albany area, I know there's only one or two. Most of you are either international or other places in the U.S. Or even in the over by Troy or Schenectady. There's the Troy Valley Center of Gravity, which I'm a member of. Actually, I got 24/7 access over there. I paid for it. I'm a super user. I'd highly recommend them for a couple of reasons. One, they will train you to use the equipment, which, well, that's a damn good idea in general. And two being, you get access to laser cutters, laser engravers, you know, all that stuff that you're just not going to likely have at home. You can basically get through them. And as I'm pulling these hoses off the tank, Blue dot lines up with blue dot. One without it. Without it. So, we are halfway there. There goes that stupid light I told my wife not to install because I don't like it. So now for our next part. So, this little red tab in here has to be peeled upwards. There we go. That releases the fuel line. And then there's a tab back here for the electrical. Usually this is better if you have another hand. But if you're a dumbass like me, you may not think about that. Ah, fucker. Reminds me of that South Park song, Uncle Fucker. Na, 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 Uncle Fucker. So what you want to do is you want to pull the little tab that's in here towards the outside of the connector and then slide out. When you go to take this gas line off, you'll get a couple trickles. Just keep that in mind and be very gentle taking her off, because this is one of those parts you'll only get from fucking Japan. There we go. There we go. And there's just a dribble or two. There we go. So, let's go put the tank up here. As you're putting the tank down, be very careful of that nipple that sticks out. Right here. If you aren't and you snap that off, you need a whole new fuel pump. Hey. You can just walk right on in. Just turn it and push. So, several people have several wonderful questions about getting the airbox itself out. First things first. This is your air temp sensor. Unhook this right here. Only goes on one way. Then for these, flip it over. Push down, pull. Maybe give them a little incentive to come off. This is possibly one of the more expensive parts on your bike. This, as far as I know, is your computer, your relay box, all that shit all in one. If I'm wrong, somebody will correct me. They probably will correct me and be wrong too. So, a lot of people keep saying, okay, how do you get your airbox out of the harness? I am about to show you the trick. And it's not even really a trick. So, let's get ready for that. There's a whole shit ton of screws around the outside edge. Little Phillips. So here's one. I usually do this with a screw gun, but I'm doing it manually today just to show you that this can be a pretty quick job if you make it one. I don't remember, but I could have sworn this is the down sensor, but I don't know, I've never really fucked it up. Oh, you know what? That could be the relay box. One of the two is. I don't know. One is, one isn't, whatever. So far, I will have now taken off 3 Phillips heads. They look to be self-tapping. No, they're not. They're just really coarse threaded. So, give your harness a little tug as you need to. Now, if you're going to open your airbox up to do anything underneath it with your intake, grab yourself a couple fresh socks that just got washed and dried. I'd suggest without fabric softener, no particular reason, other than that's my preference, just so we don't have any contaminants. Because a regular wash and dry cycle, although it may not feel as comfy on your feet, that should be all that's needed. You just want to keep shit from falling in. I've used, I don't know what you call them, but mechanics towels are basically a heavy paper towel with a little linen content. I think they're made by Scott's towel. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. So my whole purpose in doing this today is A, to get the video I said I would do on the 4th of July done, since it's not raining now, and shouldn't for several hours. And B, I want to look at my air filter. So, everybody says, oh, well, my harness is too tight, da 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 da. Well, you're doing it wrong. Up, over, and then fight with it. Because this little rat bastard. Slide her over all these little pins. Now, up and out. Ta-da! Now, watch these. This is an aftermarket air filter, which I'm about to check. And needs to be worked on. Here's your snorkels. Yeah, I don't know. I might leave it. I'm gonna be an idiot. So, to get this airbox off, this whole thing, you just pull up gently. I'd suggest taking these side pieces off, which you have to get to through your fairings. There is an actual clamp mechanism. I'll see if I can guide myself into looking at it. Down here on the side. There it is, right in here. You can't get a good shot of it, but it's a hex, and you can release it there, and then the whole thing pulls up. I had mine off and I tightened it, so I'm not going to do that. What I may do, however, is pull the snorkels out for giggles. Or I may not. It's looking like it might be a little more involved than it should be. Yeah, I ain't fucking with it. Somewhere there's a Kawasaki engineer saying, why the hell would you do that? This must be the relays. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, that's how to get in your airbox. And the snorkels, once again, right here, right here. Just make sure everything's aligned when you put it back in. This one screw should be a captive screw, which means it shouldn't fall out into your intake. Doesn't have to be in there He-Man-like. Just wanted to check the status on mine. This cable right here, this is about to be unplugged and rerouted. This is to this little cigarette lighter up here. Thought it was a good idea. It was a horrible fucking idea. I mean, it was a good idea for the time. It was a horrible idea in general. Because of the fact that I need it in the back, not in the front. I didn't think about that at the time. I just ran it. So, there's that. I'll have to kill that zip tie later on. Oh, maybe not. There. Zip tie's not hurting anybody. I just got to pay attention to this when I go doing anything. I'm hoping the negative's the one that's outside that's not being, and that nobody would be stupid enough to put the positive on the outside where it could ground on something. However, this is America. And occasionally, people do really stupid shit. Like you don't say, right? There we go. So now I know what that's to. I'm going to leave that just hanging. I feel safer that way. That's going to end up going into my tail bag. So, let's put the top back on. First, let's hose it off. Why? Because, once again, it makes me feel better. Oh. And I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to say, oh, you know, nice pants. You know, my little jammy looking things. It's called, I wasn't doing shit today. Oh, nice spider web. You little fucker. You better stay the fuck away from me. really. Wife must have turned it off. I always leave it on. Why do we have... Oh, the painted rocks. My children's in one of those Head Start programs. Really helps the kids out a lot, but sometimes it makes you wonder if the people who run it were dropped on their head. Inside's nice and clean. Inside the connector's nice and dry. Even if it weren't, it will be eventually. There we go. Now, mine didn't have a piece of rubber right here because I removed it. But since it's been a while, A, I know I have it, and B, fucking put it back in there. Aha. Now, you may wonder why the hell is that there? I do not know. I really don't. It's there though, you know. Housing wise, do they really matter? I don't think so. It's probably just keep things from grounding or something. But, yeah. Oh, here's where you get your extra slack from. There's a little extra down here. Worst goes to worst, you could probably undo that. So, make sure this thing seals properly. You don't want a bad seal, or you're just going to let all kinds of shit in. And that would be bad. And grab yourself some of these. I would say work yourself from one corner around on a diagonal. I wouldn't put them in super fucking tight. You can strip this plastic. You know, it's like everything else about this. This is a 650. It's not the ZX14. You know, you didn't spend that kind of time and money into the quality of the parts, I don't think. Don't get me wrong. I'm not digging on the bike. It is what I want it to be. Which is cheap, efficient, and fucking reliable so far. So I'm now realizing that putting this shit down here is a pretty bad idea, but such things happen. Na, 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 Uncle Fucker. I watched South Park. I'm sure a couple of people have already caught on to that. Well, that obviously ain't gonna go in there. Let's move my Scott Oiler fuse out of the way. So, if you have one of those wonderful magnetic pans, I would suggest using it on this particular project. Also remember there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 screws that go into this airbox on the top. Now once again remember, tight but not retarded tight. You're just holding it closed. You're not trying to save the world with it or whatever in the hell. Note to self, don't put the shit back down here again. That was stupid. Oh. Boy. So let's go over here. One of these. So I'm told this thing stores about an hour worth of video. Let's see just how long that truly ends up being, since I will have opened and closed the airbox and put on the tank. Under an hour, I hope. If not, you know, I guess somebody can sue me. Oh wait, they can't. I think all these repairs are at your own risk. If you don't have the knowledge or what have you to do it, or have any questions about it, please don't attempt it. Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt others. You know, don't try to accuse me of being liable because you did something you shouldn't have. When in doubt, go to the dealer if you have to. I don't like the dealer. However, you know, 1,000 different strokes for 1,000 different folks. So, our airbox is almost closed. It is now. If you do take the part underneath this out, that I don't know if you call it a breather assembly, you'll find there's two hoses on the bottom that have to be reconnected, plus the actual throttle bodies. I'm not going into that in this video, and if you can't figure it out, then you probably don't belong doing the job. You know, I'm not trying to be mean, but a lot of the stuff, if you can't figure it out, you just please don't. You know, I don't want anybody hurt or injured just because they got over their head, or, you know, whatever could happen. But this little fucker, I had the hardest time getting that to open and close properly. What would happen is, put the key in, and you put it back, and this little swiper wouldn't close again. I eventually ended up using my chain lube for my Scott oiler, and it freed it up. It wasn't for the longest time, and it was getting ice and shit in there, and I didn't really appreciate that. It didn't really either, because it would freeze up in the winter. So, we hooked up our intake air sensor. Now, we go and we plug these in. Big one goes on the big side, push it until it clicks. Little one goes on the little side, plug her in. That's that. Now, onto our hoses and electrical. And I'm going to slide that around there. It's for my GPS. Apparently I'm not. Oh well, that's my little GPS adapter down here. I have a Garmin. So, here's what we got. We got maybe 2 drops of gasoline that spilled. That'll evaporate as the sun hits it. Let's get this tank on. She's almost full, by the way. So, first trick. Put that fucking fuel line on. Pull it down, push it all the way in until it clicks. Then pull back gently to make sure it actually made it. If you fuck up on that, you're gonna have problems. Plug your electrical back in and set her down. There we go. There we go. I do realize I make hose pliers. I do realize I don't use them. So, how's that? Bottom tank bolt, 10mm once again, for your ratchet, wrench, whatever. And then we got the 2 up top. Mine, careful, these washers do matter, otherwise you're trying to put the head of a bolt right into the rubber. It'll let you. I wouldn't do it. It's a bad idea. you don't need more problems. That's probably why you're watching my channel. I don't want to cause you any problems either. And let's go swipe the old forehead. So now, you'll notice that I'm putting all these bolts in before trying to start it. Well, are you an idiot or something? No. A lot of vehicles use metal parts as grounds. I don't know if this does or doesn't, nor do I care. I just want to make sure it's all in place. Besides, if something goes wrong, I want to make sure it's limited to what it should be limited. So here we go. Verify she starts. Did not sound happy. Let's check down here. I don't see any leaks. Yeah, the red thing's closed. Get out. Close that clip. Everything looks good in here. Here's one of those hoses, this big fatty right back here. It's one of the ones I'm telling you about. This one also comes off the airbox, if I remember right. Kind of matters. So, I'll let that run for a minute. Basically to bleed pressure off that tank. I'm going to set my Scott oiler because it's ready to, it's not good. It's time to calibrate. Okay. Shouldn't be running right now, but it is. I'm going to have to reset that up. 90 seconds per drip. It's still showing us ready to dispense, and I'm not really sure why. It shouldn't be. But, okay. So, Scott oiler harness goes back in here. And then, we'll just come up here before I get too freaking carried away with this shit. We'll get the cement, put this back on. But you guys got the gist of it. Any questions, let me know. I respond to them. Sometimes it takes me about a week. If you don't like it, go pay the dealer. You know, flat out. So, everybody have a great day. And enjoy your week or weekend. Hopefully you're having some nice sun. Be able to get out and do what you want to do. Peace, people.